All right, here we go. Hello, everybody. This is Adam from Pinson to Flood for the Win. And today, as you can see right off to my side here, I got Jay, the average vintage collector, with me. Just going to talk, just visit, get to know each other. I've been wanting to have him on. He's one of the first people that really commented and encouraged me. And I appreciate that, buddy, for all those kind words you've been giving me on all the stuff I've been doing. And
Not a
after
problem.
watching yours, I realized we're probably a lot alike in a lot of ways.
Yeah, great content. I think we do collect very similarly. This is fun to get on.
Yeah. So one of the first things I do when I have people, I've had a couple people on, is married, kids. Kind of tell me a little bit about you, what you do for a living. A little bit about just who you are.
Yeah. I'll be 46 this year, and I'm married. I got a couple kids. They're in their teens. I got one finishing up high school. Live out on the East Coast side of things, just outside of Buffalo. Been here my entire life, and grew up in Buffalo, but then moved outwards a little bit. And currently just, working in law enforcement right now. So and I've been doing that for about 18 years.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Well, I'm 64. I've been retired since I was 53. I worked at a hospital and retired. Then I've also, at the same time, I did a radio talk show for 10 years after work. And then I also ran a card shop for about 5 years. A friend of mine had a comic book shop and wanted me to run that end of it. Then I've done play-by-play. I've done analyst. I was a high school football announcer for about, 7 years. I did baseball, did hockey.
Great.
Did a little bit of everything. Got a chance to play around a little bit. Got to do what I want to do on the side because I could never got into it full time. Plus, I had a good job with good benefits. I wasn't going to screw that up.
Yeah.
Married with one kid. I have two twin grandsons that are 7. So yeah, just living, just enjoying. I love fly fishing and hiking, so I'm in that mecca. That's where I'm at. So have you always been a Buffalo fan then, or you've been a Buffalo fan?
Yeah, I am a Bills fan. Grew up really as more of a Sabres fan than a Bills fan, and then come 2006 to 2008, somewhere around there, my things kind of shifted where I was more of a Bills fan than a Sabres fan. And now I'm kind of drifting back to being more of a Sabres fan than a Bills fan. So it just kind of ebbs and flows.
One of my favorite people to collect is Alex Tuck. I'm a huge Alex Tuck fan. Yeah. And so I watch all the Buffalo games because I love him and I love Thompson.
I don't get to watch many because I cut cable and I can't. So I only watch them now when they're nationally televised. So it's only a handful of games. But I'm a big Avalanche fan. So getting back into hockey was, kind of drawn towards the Avalanche, and I'm a big Matt Tkachuk fan. So I watch the Panthers whenever I can. So
now I'm a Vancouver Canucks fan is my favorite team just because that's who I've always rooted for since we had the Golden Seals when I was growing up, but they didn't hardly put any games on. And at that time we only had 3 channels. That's back in the 70s. So I had ABC, CBS, and NBC. And we were in Sacramento. That's where I grew up. I was born and raised in Sacramento, California, and they just didn't put any games on. So it wasn't until I moved up to Oregon when I was 22, and I was going to school, and I would go to this. It was like a bar, but it was a place where anybody could come in and eat. It was kind of wasn't a bar, just a bar, but they served alcohol there. But I met a former NHL ref, and so we watched hockey every night together because that's where I went to study. And he taught me all about the game, and that's when I became a Vancouver fan.
That's cool. You can't learn. They were the closest. You better to learn from at that point, right?
No, in fact, he took me out to his car, and in his trunk are Bobby Hull signed gloves and Gordie Howe signed sticks. I mean, he had met all the greats.
That's cool.
He was probably in his 60s or 70s back then, so he had been a ref in their time. So it was really fascinating to get to know him. I can't remember his name, but
cool though. Cool nonetheless.
So one of the first questions I was going to ask you before we got started on just that is, I'm curious what you thought of the Hall of Fame inductions.
I will say I'm very happy that Carlos Beltran got in because it's odd to me that he got in because I didn't expect him to be in because he is so we can talk about controversy, right? Like the steroid era and how that has followed people in for years and they're just not getting in. Those guys are just not getting in. We see it on the ballots. They're not making any progress, or if they are making progress, it's very little. But then there's kind of like some examples of guys that did get in that did have some controversy, but Beltran has the most recent controversy, and that was when he played with my Astros. I'm a big Astros fan.
Yeah, he was the drummer boy.
and I really thought that would submarine his chances for forever. And I'm very surprised that he got inducted. And for me, I think the more promising side is that I think that it will lead to 10, 15, 20 years into the future, some of these other guys on those teams that are, Jose Altuve kind of stands out in my mind. That guy's a machine. Maybe he might have a good resume to get in eventually, and I don't know if that will allow him to get in, when time comes, easier or not. I don't know. I think that he is kind of like the guy that everyone kind of just pointed fingers at, and when you hear the word cheater, that's who you automatically think of these days. So I don't know how it's going to work out. I'm really happy to see him in.
Number wise, I don't think there was any question.
Yeah,
Beltran was a Hall of Famer. Andre Jones, on the other part, I don't think. This is me, but from 31 to 35, he had a 1.7 WAR. He batted under 200 twice. His last 5 years were horrifying. He was a 10-year guy.
yeah.
And my feeling is he's 6 WAR behind Lofton. And Lofton should be in, I think, before both these guys. I think
100%. I'm with you on Kevin Lofton.
I think he was
100%.
Clearly a better player all the way around up till age 40. He was still a really quality player. But from 31 to 35, if those numbers would have been Andre Jones from 36 to 40, I'd give him a little bit more pass. Yeah. But from 31 to 35, that's still people's, in a lot of cases, prime. And he was horrifying. Like, he never had over 300 bats, but one time. His last 5 years were like he checked out.
I'm not sure why Andrew Jones gained as much momentum as he did the last couple of years. And I didn't think that he would gain enough to make it this year. But again, I think that there's always somebody that surprises us on these ballots that makes it in. And this year, I think it's 2 guys that kind of surprised me that they made it in.
I almost feel like they voted guys in because they didn't know what else to do. But not that either one doesn't deserve to be there. I'm kind of shocked that Andrew got in. Consider there's no Hall of Famer that I could find that had a worse last 5 years of their career than Andre Jones. Like, no one.
Right.
No one even close. I mean, most people, they tail off maybe 1 or 2 years at the end of their career, but they're in their late 30s. What shocks me is from 31 to 35, he was that bad. I mean, literally, he hit 51 home runs, and 2 years later, he batted 158.
Yeah, I guess I don't really remember the tail end of his career, but I do remember the peak of his career, and that was, like phenomenal. You said, he had some phenomenal seasons.
Yeah, no, and hopefully it will open the door for Kenny Lofton to get in. He's the highest guy up there beside Beltran that hadn't got in from a WAR standpoint. And I use WAR as, I know it's not the beat all end all, but it's pretty good measuring stick.
It is
to really look at somebody. And when you got a guy at 68 WAR and a guy at 62, and the guy at 62 gets in, and the guy at the 68 isn't even on the ballot anymore, I have a problem with that. I have a problem with how are they figuring this out? I'd have been fine if it had been, say, Utley and Beltran getting in. I just felt like Lofton deserved to go in before Andre Jones did, and that's not going to happen. So, we got to embrace it and just take it. But I was a little shocked that no one's talked about that. I mean, everybody I've seen, even from the Tim Kirchens and stuff, they just say, "Oh yeah, it was a no-brainer." I'm thinking, no-brainer. He had a 10-year career. You know how many guys had really good 10-year careers but didn't get in because it was only a 10-year career of peak. After that, I'm just kind of shocked that no one's brought that up. I mean, he was really bad, like horribly bad. At the age
I have to go back and look at those last 5 years.
Yeah, his age 31, he had a minus 1.9 WAR. That means a replacement player is at 3. He wouldn't even. It's like he shouldn't have been on the team at a minus 1.9. And he was 31. He wasn't like 41. That's my problem.
Right.
But and I don't understand these people that are all hung up on Cole Hamels. Like, he got 23. Like, Cole Hamels had about 3 good years, but he only won 163 games. Are we going to start? I mean, there's plenty of guys well into the 200s that should get in way before. I mean, there are better pitchers. Santana was a way better pitcher than Cole Hamels. and no one's even talking about Santana getting in, and his numbers are comparable.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden, Cole Hamels is on everybody's radar. Oh, 23, he's trending. And I'm like, Cole Hamels? I'm just kind of like, I don't remember him. He never won a Cy Young, never was a dominant pitcher.
He was a
never
workhorse.
was like the best pitcher in the league, or even the top 5 pitcher in the league.
He was a workhorse, and he had, I think,
Yes.
some moments. I think he had some really good, like in the moment, important big games
Yes.
that he kind of stood out in. You know, it's but I can't really say I followed him enough to really weigh in one way or another on him. But I do remember, you know, he was around for a pretty long time, or at least that's what I remember. And he would log some innings, man. He would eat up some innings.
Yeah, no,
he could be a
and he was a good pitcher, but I mean, there are so many guys right around him. I mean, people talking about Hernandez, you know, and Felix was a great pitcher for about 7-8 years. And then his last 4 or 5 years, he just fell off the map. ERAs in the 4s and 5s.
I really think that has to do with innings logged, because that's another guy that was a workhorse that would go deep into games, had a lot of complete games. Not a lot as in today's standard complete games, but
yeah, and maybe they're just not built the same, because I mean, Wilbur Wood just passed away, and he went 5 years in a row of 320 innings or more.
Right.
5 years in a row after being his first 10 years in the league. He was a reliever. He never started. And then he started and became this unbelievable starter. There's only 2 guys here. There's only 2 guys. I'm giving you one of them that won 20 games and lost 20 games in the same season. Wilbur Wood and Phil Niekro. The only 2 pitchers that ever won 20 and then also lost 20 in that same year. But that's how many times they started games. I mean, these guys started 45, 50 games. It was amazing.
I mean, I just did a little thing on one of my most recent videos, and it was about Ken Trinkle, who no one has ever heard of. I mean, even myself, I wasn't familiar with it. But it's a guy that didn't have a very long career, but he led the league in games pitched in like over 3 seasons, and he had 38 completed games, which is just unbelievable. You know, that 38 over like a 5-year period, or 38 might have been even in one season. Like, it's crazy. It's just unbelievable. And we will never see that again.
I think last year there was like barely 30 complete games for the whole league. Yeah. And in 1968, Gibson had 28 in his just for the year. You know, so it is a different time, and we have to look at things differently. I mean, you know, but like, how much do we bring that down? Because the standard, it wasn't the beat all. I get tired of people saying 500 home runs is a standard, or 3,000 hits is a standard, or 300 wins is a standard. But if you were close to 300 wins or over, you were in. Yeah. It's an automatic, unless you're, you know, Clemens or, you know, the steroid era guys.
Right.
And, you know, that's a controversy that'll be going. My feeling has always been, let those guys in after they started testing. There's only been 3 guys that have failed, and that was Ramirez, Cano, and Rodriguez that would have gone in. Now they failed after they implemented. Those guys probably should never go in. But if everybody keeps saying we don't know what to do with the steroid guy, just put them all in. Just put them all in. They already had numbers. Put them in and let us decide, because it's not the Hall of the Morales. It's the Hall of Fame for baseball. And at that time, whether we like it or not, it was not illegal. I know that's crazy, but it wasn't illegal.
It wasn't illegal, and baseball was thriving on what was happening in baseball during that time, and they loved it.
Look at the commissioner knew. He knew, because you'd see Brady Anderson come in one year at 180 pounds, and next year he's 210 and he looks like a Greek god and he hits 50 homers. Okay, you know something's going on. If you wanted to stop it, you could have right then and there. You could have said, look, if something's going on here, we're not doing it. But they didn't, because they were making money. And the McGwire Sosa thing was awesome. Everybody loved it.
The McGwire and Sosa thing, when I went to high school, that was when I was in high school. Every morning we would have Sports Center on before school started, and they had it on in the classrooms. We would watch it every morning. And that was one of the most exciting races, and one of the things that stands out in my childhood. And like, I look back and like, people are like, yeah, but it's all tainted because it was. And I'm like, listen, as a fan, as a kid, that was the hook for me. Like, this was what made me such a huge fan in following the game. So I know everyone has their opinion on that stuff, and but that's my generation, and even, you know, the generation surrounding me. Like, it meant something, even though it was tainted and it is now tainted. It's still, that was an exciting time. in baseball.
Well, and the thing was too is none of those names are supposed to be released. Both in the Balco report and the Mitchell report, it was not supposed to be released, and it was, and yet Ortiz is in and Rodriguez is in, and they're both
Right.
on those reports. So
Right.
how come they're in, but Palmeiro's not in, who's one of only 6 guys to do 500 home runs and 3,000 hits? And as you can tell, I'm a little bit of a Palmeiro fan, so I'm a little biased. I have quite a bit of Palmeiro, but guys like that we don't know yet what they, he supposedly had one bad test. Well, none of these things were supposed to come out. And once they implemented, if you failed then to me, you're just an idiot. And that's
the thing with Palmeiro though that really bothers me is that he went under oath and testified. I remember him looking at the camera and saying, "I have never." Right. And it was like, dude, you're just lying. You're
well, I think that's
lying.
What's going to hurt him, and probably why he'll never get in is because of that, because he was so adamant about it. But I don't know how we solve it, except either we let them all in, of those that before they put in the implement. Yeah. Either we let them all in that we're going to already be in because of their numbers, and then let us decide when we go and see them. You could even say something as simple on their plaque as they played during the steroid era. You don't have to say that they let me as the viewer, because when I go there, I want to see the guys that were the gods. I haven't been. I know you've probably been because you're close to it. I've never been, and to the Hall of Fame. So I would love to go and see those guys. I don't know what the answer is, because I understand the people that are strongly against it. I would never say that they're wrong. I'm just one of those that feels like just put them in, and everybody that failed after the testing, because those names were supposed to release.
I have not been to Cooperstown recently. I was only in Cooperstown when I was a kid, like maybe like 7, 8 years old. So it's been a long, long time. It's about like 6 hours away from me or 5 hours away from me. But I'm pretty sure that there's still displays in there that have displays with like McGuire's gear and Sosa's gear, like at Cooperstown, like just little displays because of the home run race. So, you know, I don't know. It makes sense to me that those guys would eventually get in, but I don't think they're going to.
Yeah, it's it's again, it's not the hall of the morale, and that's just been always my argument is because there's plenty of guys in there that were pieces of crap. I mean, just look at Ty Cobb's life and Hornsby's life, and there's many others that we could go down the line that, hell, O.J. Simpson's in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and everybody knows what he did. Let's be honest. So how do we distinguish that? And then how do we deal with that era? Because we love that era, and it was an exciting time. And for all we know, there are plenty of other guys that got in that their names never came out for whatever reason. Their names got hidden that are in that were maybe doing it. I mean, and how much did it really help? Like, is there proof that they hit the ball 20 feet further? Is there proof that they threw the ball 5 miles per hour? We don't know that because we never tested that kind of stuff. So is there, I don't know. It's just one of those things that'll always be interesting, and it's frustrating in that I don't know if anybody has a good answer, even the Hall of Fame, on really how to deal with it, because no one ever expected anything like this. And so, I hope one day that some of those guys get in. I really hope like Gary Sheffield gets in. I think he was a good dude. Yeah. I think if he was involved in Balco, so was Rodriguez and Ortiz. That's, the report, the Mitchell report too is, okay, how do we separate why those guys got in? Because they're nice guys. Well, Sheffield wasn't always the nicest to reporters.
No.
And, a lot of writers are the ones that are voting, and I wish they would get past that and just look at it.
Which is something that I think also needs to change. I think that needs to change about how we're selecting people in the hall.
Yeah,
I don't know what this change
should have a say in it. I think former players should have a say in it. I think, I even think announcers should have a say in it. I think, and I think there should be a small percentage of fans that have it, however you divvy that up, that could have a say in it. That, I don't know. There's got to be a way to do it where it's just not the writers, because, they do hold grudges, and they've admitted it. So, so one of the things I've noticed about your channel, I've watched quite a few things, is you collect a lot like me, and but one of the things that I love, that the fact that you're working on, because I just started working on, I think I've got 11, is the 64 Giants set, and that you picked up a bunch from,
I did.
from I
Tony.
watch his channel. What's
Tony
his name?
Talks Cards.
Tony's a great dude. And he had said, if you want some, he gave me his email to email him. And I just lost track because I've been dealing with this stinking leg of mine. So I kind of lost track of it. And then I saw that you got a bunch of them. I was like, yeah, it's great. You know, that you got a
Myself and Billy over at Phil Negro Fan, he got a bunch of them too. So he beat me to the punch first, and then I got what was left over there. And I still think there's some left, but it definitely gave me a huge jump on the set. I already had some prior to that, but I'm more than halfway there, and this has made it a lot more attainable to finish that because I love that set. I love the backs on them.
yes.
That's my favorite part. It's like a newspaper clipping almost type of back to it.
What else? Do you have any other sets like that you're collecting, or are you working on like an actual set of something, like an actual year set?
Yeah, I pulled out a bunch of stuff, and they're everything's kind of all over the place. So just bear with me. But so one of the first sets that I didn't put this together. I just went out and bought the set because it didn't make sense for me to chase it around. It's easily attainable. It's very cheap. But one of the earliest sets I ever remember collecting, or packs opening as a kid, was 84 Topps. So I put the 84 Topps. I went ahead and bought that set and put it together, put it in a binder, and I loved it. And then I started going through cards that I had, and I ended up putting together an 87 set, which is another set that I collected. A lot.
I don't care what people say about that. I love that set.
Yeah, the wood grain. I love it, and I think I had more of those than any other cards in my childhood collection. Was that wood grain set? I remember buying those triple, what are they, the rack packs or whatever they are.
Yes.
At anywhere, Woolworths or wherever you went, they were just always hanging there. Oh, yeah, there you go. Good
I got
84.
the complete super set.
That's awesome.
So it's I think it's 30 cards, but I just picked that up. I love the 84, and to get that super set. I like oversized cards. I'm a huge oversized card guy. So I have a lot of oversized cards.
So the other set that I switched to right away, I wanted to put together a vintage set, and I wasn't sure where to go. I talked to the guy at my card shop, and he said, well, you just go with something you like. And being new to vintage, I was going through and trying to figure out what set. And the 73 set, that the only thing that drew me to that set really was the Clemente in that set.
Beautiful
it is one of my favorite cards ever.
With the way the light shines on them it's a great card.
And you got a picture of the umpire and the catcher and him in a batting stance all in one card. So I said, you know what? I'm going to make that the focus. I'm going to make that the foundation, and I'm going to put together this 73 set. So this 73 set I have been working on for about 3 years since I got into vintage. And this is almost 100% complete. There's a ton of cards in here. The one card that I just picked up that has kind of been like the one that's been eluding me a little bit was Willie Mays. And not for any particular reason. It's just that I just wasn't getting it. I got to move here, but right there, finally in the binder at the bottom. And what
would you say the average grade is on most of those cards?
I don't really go too much for grade. I would say there's definitely some in there that are poor. There's definitely some in there that are good, maybe some EX ones, but I don't really pay too much attention to that. My whole goal is just to get one.
I'm the same
when
way.
It comes to one like Mays, I kind of put a little bit more thought into it, and I want a little bit better representation. And that one I think was beautiful. That's one of the better ones in that set. So I don't really necessarily buy for condition. I just buy because I want the
I'm the exact same way, buddy.
And
I'm working on a 62 football set, and that's the black bordered one.
Mm-hmm.
And there's probably about 6 cards in there that I'd say are kind of expensive, like $50 to $100. And I'm telling you right now, I've never bought a card over $100 in my life. Never spent $100 on a card. I've got a lot of expensive cards. I just buy them in lower grades, or I don't mind something that looks like a 1 or a 2 because it's for me. I don't buy things to one day hope that they make money. Like, I don't care about that. I already told my family, my son knows what to do with all my stuff when I'm gone. Just do whatever. Right. I don't care. I'm collecting because I just enjoy what I'm doing. So,
and that's kind of where I'm at. My kids don't collect. I did try and get my son and my daughter into it. It's just not their thing, and I'm not pushing that. Right. And eventually, at some point, when like I'm gone, it's going to be my wife's going to pretty much contact someone. I told her, you're not going to get rich off of this collection. This is not an inheritance for anybody.
Right.
This is not something I'm leaving behind. It's probably going to be a nuisance to get rid of, but here's who you're going to call. And this is where you're what we're going to do. Now, I have some people that'll help her out with that. But too early to start thinking about those things for me, but
no, you got plenty of time. What's the most expensive card in the 73 set? I can't remember which one.
Mike Schmidt, the Mike Schmidt rookie.
That's right.
Yep.
Schmidt.
I got that one pretty
I don't call it the Schmidt. I call it the Ron Say card.
Ron Say.
I'm a Dodger fan.
Yep. That one is the most expensive one in the set, and I got a lower grade one. Honestly, it might be a little bit trimmed on top of it, but I don't even care. I'm not a big I like Mike Schmidt, but I'm not like a guy that's like, oh, I got to get that Mike Schmidt rookie. I got the Mike Schmidt rookie because it was part of this set. So, I think from about 19, probably 73, maybe you could go to 72 and up there. You don't have to worry about that mantle thing. Like, oh my God, like, because that's the way you got to start all the sets in the 60s. Yeah.
Do I want to get the mantle and then go from there? Or do I want to do as much as I can and worry about the mantle? Because that's always going to set you back. And in the late 60s and early 70s, it's the Nolan Ryan. So once you get past that, it's like pretty much there's not a card that's gonna make it impossible to do.
The 73 set is the last year with the high numbers, and the high numbers in that set are way more reasonable than any other set. Like, so I'm about 14 cards away from completing this set. They're easy ones to get. It's a lot of common cards and a few high numbers. And I'll finish it. It's just that I'm never in a rush. Like, I don't hurry to finish that. I'll finish it as it goes. So, but I'm close enough where I said, you know what, I'm going to start another set. And I'm always just collecting random cards, from any set. And then I throw them into a binder and I say, well, maybe one day I'll put that set together. But I did want to try and find another specific set to concentrate on. And what I boiled it down to was 67 and 60. 67, the high numbers are ridiculously priced. And even for the common guys. And I said, I don't want to get into that.
The Calavito alone is, if you can find one under $200, you're lucky. And because I collect Calavito.
I don't, it's not, to me, to spend, even $60 on a beat up someone that no one's ever heard of. I just don't want to do that. So I ended up deciding to go with the 60, which seems a bit more reasonable, but there are some big cards in that, like the Mantle you're going to pay. A lot of the McCovey you're going to pay. There's a lot of cards even in that set that you will, but I'm looking at the long game in this one. I'm in no rush to do it. But I did start it. So I went to my card shop the other day. Now my card shop has every top set that there is, and they're all in binders and they sell them for a great price. And you go in there and you just dig around. So I started, near the top, and I started my 60 set, which I already had some. I got a bad glare, but you can see that there's lots of holes here. And I went through and just started with a handful and started, getting whatever I could. There's, like I said, a lot of holes, but it cost me at the shop, maybe I think they were 50 cents a card for the low numbers, and for the high numbers, I want to say they were like $2 or $2.50 a card. And I just got like a handful just to kind of, whatever. And they're everywhere. You can get them for decent prices. And at my shop, I'll probably get the majority of them at my shop, but it'll be over years. I'm not looking to finish this anytime soon. The Mantle.
Don't you enjoy the hunt? Like I I don't want to get something and complete it right away. It's just like, why do that? Takes away the fun. And I collect a lot of different things. So I'm never going to be one that's I want to take some time, because the one set I would like to start, I've got probably about 100 cards, is the 75 Topps Mini.
Oh yeah.
They made the Mini with the regular.
Yep.
Because I like to do the Mini set, because I always loved that when I was growing up. And I think at one time completed it, but I sold it years ago. Because I went to college and sold everything and moved on to college and stuff.
Right. So those are kind of like the two sets that I'm working on there. But then, we talk about sets, and I wanted a football set, and I'm not real big into football. But I came across the 69 football set, and it's the color. I like the 60
Beautiful.
Topps
My
baseball.
favorite
because of the
set.
color.
That's
And
my
so
favorite set.
I went ahead and started to put this together, and I've got a good run on it. And again, this is from my LCS, and
Yeah, I remember
like
when
this,
you did the show on it and you showed all the ones you got from the
yeah,
LCS. They were beautiful.
this Unitas was like $5. Like
Wow.
it's unreal. And I got some of the bigger hitters, Merlin Olsen, which was like a $2 card, like just unbelievable. It's vintage football is such a different game than
Yes.
baseball when it comes to prices. I can't believe how like undervalued that stuff is, but that stuff is fantastic. And I'm like really making a lot of headway with that only because the prices are so reasonable. I'd really like to pick up this year 2 cards from that set. I'd really like to pick up the Gale Sayers, and I'd really like to pick up the Brian Piccolo, the two together. Those are the 2 I'm really looking forward to adding. And then, we keep going with sets, right? Like I collect a little bit of everything.
That's my favorite player. I'm a New York Jets fan.
Yeah.
So Don Maynard's my favorite. That's a 69 Don Maynard. I use MPE and they gave it a 5. That's so I only get like a player runs the only ones I really get that I get graded. I don't get a lot of stuff graded, but I get that stuff. But I love that 69 set.
I do buy graded. It doesn't necessarily have to be graded. So my biggest thing is I have a really tough time. Number one, I don't spend big bucks on cards that I don't see in person.
Right.
So I want to see it in person. And then I just feel that when you buy a bigger card, I want it a little bit protected and presented. Like I want to know that it's a real card, which I know isn't that big of a deal. I've never been ripped off, and I've heard some stories, but I don't think it's running rampant out there.
No,
especially if you're buying from reputable dealers.
No, it's not.
But I do like the presentation in a slab. But the number doesn't really mean much to me. If it's something that I really like and I'm gonna say, yeah, this looks great, I don't mind having something that's a little beat up. Even if it is encased, it still has that appeal. And that's kind of like why I started going to Mag Pros too. And I started putting cards in Mag Pro. So I don't purposely track down anything in a slab, but I will say like the cards that are high on my list, like lifetime goal cards, those I would prefer to have in slabs just because they're a little bit more higher end, and I have that comfort factor and knowing that it's the number one real and just the look of it and that it's protected and that it's got I don't know, that's just kind of me. But
no, I totally agree. That's why I'm anti-PSA. It's just a personal thing. And I don't like cards being gone for a bunch of days. Like I sent in 3 cards back in the first week of November, and SGC just is now sending them as of Monday. 2 days ago, they sent them finally. It was 3 cards.
Right.
Well, so I've done on my show, I talk about the lesser companies I use. I use MPE, I use Electric, I use Arena, and I use C3, which I'm getting my first return back this week. They're coming back. And I don't care what the company is. I don't. No. I just wanted them encased, and they didn't cost a lot of money. Those MPEs that you see, those were all $4.50. That's what they charge you.
Yeah,
they're going to keep them for 30 days or 45 days. I don't care. That's why I'm sending them to them. But I agree with you. I buy a lot of raw cards, but only if I can see them in person. If I'm going to buy something that's going to be in the $60, $70, $80 range, I definitely would like that encased. And because then I know that it's been authorized, and that means more to me because I've never been ripped off either, but there's always the first time.
Yeah. Yeah. There's too many people out there that try and take advantage. But like I said, that's kind of why I save it for and I don't go to a lot of shows. I mean, we talk, I know Strongsville has been talked about, more than enough, but like I am very excited to go to that show. I went to it for the first time last year, but it was the first show of that magnitude that I've been to. And it's not even that big of a show. But for me, it was gigantic and I was like lost at times. So the only shows I really go to are the monthly shows at like a American Legion around me, which there's not a whole lot of stuff. And there used to be one at a casino near me, but they've now canceled 2 shows in a row since some new ownership took over. So I'm thinking that show might be done, but that was a great show with some really decent dealers that I've actually gotten to know, and they're local to my area, and they're big vintage guys that go to the National, they go to Strongsville. And so now being able to like talk with them, it's like, if I was in the need for something or in the market for something and I had that kind of cash, I could just reach out and say, hey, can you guys meet me at the, wherever? Can we meet up somewhere? And yeah, absolutely. And so that's a nice like little relationship to have where I don't have.
Yeah, I have none of that. I don't. The closest I have is 2 hours away in Portland, and I haven't been to a show in there in a long time. Or I got to go all the way up to Tacoma to Seattle, and I don't want to fly all over the country as much as. I'm not that I wouldn't want to meet all the people, because I mean the content creators is who I'd want to go for. I just right now I'm not. It's not an interest of mine to travel that far.
That eats into your budget too.
Well, yeah, I mean, for me, between flight, hotel, and food, it'd probably be $2,000.
Right.
I can't see doing that right now. It's just not that important to me. And,
yeah.
I have a lot of different areas that I buy cards from. My local LCS, we have two, but one of them has commons, and they put stars in their boxes from 52 through current. So, I mean, I can go in there and get 100 cards, and they always give me a really good price. A lot of times less than $1 a piece.
Yeah. And that's how I am right now with my LCS.
Yeah.
These guys are fantastic. They're really the only place in town. They're about a 20-minute drive for me, or 25-minute drive, but I've gotten to know them as well. And they treat me very well. Their inventory is pretty fluid, because he goes to a lot of shows, goes to Toronto, goes to Nashville, goes to Chantilly, goes all over the place, and he's always bringing stuff back to new inventory, and his prices are good. They treat me very well. And but I've got a video that's going to be coming out that's kind of soon that will kind of I have always been in kind of like a struggle where I will have an opportunity to spend, let's just say $50, right? And I could buy a $50 card and just, and have it be one of the higher end cards that I have. And I know that's not higher end to everybody, but I could spend $50 on a card. And every single time, for the most part, I pull back and I say, you know what? I just want to buy like 25 cards for like $2 a piece. So I'm always a quantity over quality guy. And it sometimes it's like, I'm amassing this big collection, but it's all bargain bin type stuff, but I love that stuff. I absolutely love that stuff. It's
well, you see, when I do my shows, because when I do my shows, I try to have a card for whatever the situation is. Well, 90% of those cards are commons.
Yeah.
But I love having them. Like I have my Darren Johnson run, and I love it. I love it as much as somebody would like their Mantle run. I know that sounds crazy, but those are guys that I relate more to, and I like that kind of stuff. So I'm just like you. I'm more quantity over quality. I don't, I collect a lot of Pinsons and Flood. That's why the channel's called what it is.
Yeah.
But even then I'm a big New York Jets fan, so I collect a lot of Jet stuff. I'm a big Buffalo Braves fan. I don't know if you ever got a chance to watch them. That was the basketball team.
No, they were gone before.
Yeah, I'm a big Buffalo Braves fan, and I put the whole team runs together, because that was my favorite team growing up. Even though I grew up in California, I love Bob McAdoo and Randy Smith. So, and I collect Vancouver Canucks stuff, and I collect player runs. I have a lot of player runs that I do. And so, yeah, I'd rather have 25 cards than one. I'm the same way you are.
Yeah, I had some gift certificates from Christmas time, and I hopped on to eBay, and I said, oh man, like I've got some funds. I could buy $150 or $200 card. And I ended up buying a box of 90s hockey cards, which is, nothing. It was $50. And I was like, I don't care, because I want to open those packs, because I had those cards as a kid. And then I bought all these inserts, hockey inserts from, more modern stuff. And it was just cool. I was like, I'm just going to, instead of going out and getting something that would maybe not fit my collection more, because I think everything kind of fits my collection. I'm so broad that I do a little bit of everything, but it was the quantity part of it where I was like, I just want stuff, I just want these cards, and I couldn't pull the trigger on something that I wasn't going to hold in my hand. I don't want to make that decision to get something where it's like, now I got it. Now I can see this, defect. And I know you can magnify and all that, but I want to hold it if it's a bigger card, and anything for me over a bigger card is over like $40. And Strongsville was the first time that I bought cards, in the price range that is way out of norm for me. Was the first time last year, and I enjoyed it. but I can't afford to do that all the time. Even though I'm buying in small chunks, if I had saved, I could definitely do that more. But I enjoy spending the little bit. I'd rather get in a few cards a month than to go months without because I bought one big one.
Yeah, no, I'm the same way. Yeah, I hear you. I mean, and there's things during the baseball season I'm buying all the time because I love the Tops Now set.
Yeah,
So I buy a lot
great
of the
set.
Tops Now, especially if a guy hits 1,000 hit or his 500th home run or 300th home run. I buy the card and then I buy all the Dodger cards, and that's my favorite team and has been
Yeah.
since I was a little kid. So, for me, I'd rather that kind of stuff thrills me more than anything. And so, is there any kind of player runs you're working on right now? Or
When I first got into vintage, not really knowing what to do, I said I'm going to do player runs, and I had like 9 player runs that I wanted to do, and I started picking up cards of those players, and then I get to a point where I picked up a couple of cards of a certain player, and I was like, I don't even really like this card. Like, this card is not a great image. I don't like it, and the only reason I bought it was because I'm trying to do this run. Why would I buy cards that I don't even really necessarily like the card? But I'm
right?
just
No, I
trying to
hear
do
you.
a player run. So I stopped doing player runs. I collect Boog Powell, but I'm not. I just buy here and there. It's not like I'm solely getting every single card of his. If I see a card of his that is interesting, I'm like, oh, you know what? This is a really cool Boog card. I'll get that. But as far as player runs, I don't do any player runs. I am trying to do a Hall of Fame Diamond Stars run, but again, I've been in vintage for 4 years, and 3 years, and I have 4 Diamond Star Hall of Famers. And so this is a slow go. It's probably a project that might not ever finish, but it's just an open project because I have so many other things that I enjoy collecting. I don't really focus on any one thing. I have to spread around my budget a little bit and collect a little bit of this and a little bit of this and a little bit of this. So no, not necessarily any player runs. But Boog is definitely first and foremost. If there was a player, it would be Boog Powell.
Nice. So basically, your collecting style is a lot like me, except I do some player runs, but only of just a few players, and really players like I've got the whole Randy Smith run, but his run, you could complete that pretty quickly. It's like 9 cards, 10 cards in basketball. Right. And so, the Veda Pinson, I have all his regular cards. Now what I'm doing is I'm looking for the oddball cards, the post, things like that. Flood, I'm almost done with his, and Maynard wasn't that many cards. I think there's like 11 cards. And Namath, I'll never be able to do his run because I won't be able to afford his rookie.
Right.
Even to get a 1 is going to cost you $2,000.
Yeah.
And I'm just not one of those people. Even if I had $2,000, I don't think I could do it. It's like, even now, like, I love all kinds of things. Like, I love classical music. I used to have season tickets to the classical music, and it went from $14 a seat to $80 a seat, and I was out. Like, I love the music, but it was good for 14. It's not good for 80. And I'm the same way with, I covered the Ducks for 10 years and you scroll their games. Their tickets now are $120. I'm not paying $120 to watch college football when I watch every single game at home in the comfort of my home. So
that's how I'm with the Bills. I'm not paying $300 a ticket. There's no way.
No, the experience isn't, I've had enough of those experiences, so I don't need them anymore to be in the midst of a crowd and everything. But it's just one of those things where that's why I like collecting the people and the sets and the kind of the stuff that I collect and talking the stories that I tell, because those interest me more. And I want people to learn about players that were good players that maybe don't realize they even existed. I mean, Darren Johnson had, 9 years or 8 different years where he hit 20 home runs. I mean, he was a good ball player.
Yeah.
So it's people like that. Gus Zernial was third from 1950 to 1959. He was third in home runs. And the only 2 guys ahead of him were Snyder and Hodges. Mantle wasn't even ahead of him. And people don't even know who Gus Zernial is because he played for the Kansas City Royals at the time, in the Philadelphia Athletics and the Kansas City Athletics. And so
it's interesting because, like, my guilty pleasure is like, for if it comes to a modern perspective, it was even when I was collecting modern. So I collected modern like 2013 to 2020. My guilty pleasure was any insert, any rookie. So, like, I took all those inserts and rookies and I would top load them, even though they're like 25-cent cards.
Right.
And so I just picked up like a handful, but like a Randy Arozarena rookie. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to put that in. I love that stuff. And Evan Longoria was one of my favorite players. So when I did collect Modern, I had 3 player runs, and it was David Wright, Evan Longoria, and Grady Sizemore. So I have a lot of their stuff. But like this, I opened in a pack, and it was an O'Neill Cruz, which, you know, it's a cool card. I know that people don't necessarily like all the shiny stuff, but the other stuff I really liked was on some of these top sets, they did the short print alternate like card. So I started to get a bunch of those, you know, and I think that those are great, you know, and those go for, I wouldn't say a little bit more money, but it was fun stuff, you know, like these inserts are cheap, but I love them. That's a Grady Sizemore. You know, just
hey, I'm a Cleveland Guardians fan. I've been since I was a little kid. So Grady Sizemore, one of my favorite center fielders on that team.
Well, he played when Cleveland was when we were the farm team for Cleveland, when the Bisons were the farm team for Cleveland. Grady Sizemore played here, and he had a whole section at the ballpark downtown, and it was a section that was called Grady's Ladies, and it was all these women that just loved him, and they were in this. You know, he was a fantastic ball player. So like when he made the majors, I was like, that guy was awesome here. Like, and you can buy tickets to go to the Bison's games for like $10, $7 sometimes. It's crazy how cheap they are, and there's never anybody there, and you get some really good talent. I mean, we had Bo Bichette and Vlad Guerrero there for a while. You know what I mean? Like it's insane that you could see that type of talent.
I have a little bit of a guilty pleasure that I do with some cards is I collect Jose Ramirez, and I like collecting his Topps rainbow stuff. So like if he had 20 cards, I'll try to get as many of them as I can of a year. I don't do it for all, like I don't do it for the non MLB products like the Panini stuff, even though you could get into it deep there. I just do it for the stuff. Basically I do it with Topps just because I'm kind of loyal to Topps. I like Topps. So I do the Topps or Topps Chrome when they do all those, you know, green and aquas and all that stuff. I like that stuff. I don't mind any of it.
I'll say this. You brought up before oversized stuff. So I actually have some oversized stuff right here. This I got from a really small, I wouldn't even call it a card shop. I was in New Hampshire. We go to New Hampshire a lot to get away. And there is a card shop up there. It's run by a really elderly man. And it's just his garage with all these cards. And I went in there. He doesn't even come out. He just says, doors open, go on in, just get what you want. And I went in there and I spent an hour in there. And it was like everywhere you looked, there was no organization whatsoever. There were just boxes, binders, and loose cards everywhere. And you would just have to pick stuff up and you'd be like, oh my God, here's another bin or here's another this. And I started looking through it. I'm like, I just started grabbing stuff up. I had nothing priced, absolutely no prices on anything. And so I came out with this giant stack, not knowing what I was going to get myself into. And then I went in the house and he one by one, and he would take and say, oh, this is a good player. Oh, this is a good player. And these are some of the cards I got. So I got these oversized 85 Donruss cards. So, you know, Doc, they weren't in these sleeves. I put them in there. But like there's a Ripken. And then we got Jim Rice. You know, they're just all these different cards. And I never had a single one of these, but I couldn't stop myself. I was like, this is so cool. I like this stuff. Tim Raines. So I got, you know, a lot of some bigger name guys, Keith Hernandez and Dave Winfield. Here's an Ozzie Smith. And then I got this Nolan Ryan on top of it. And every time, oh, this is a good one. He's a good player. He's a good player. And I'm like, yeah, he's a good player. And even these were in there, which I don't even know what set this is from, but there's a Ripken oversized. Here's another Ryan oversized. And then, you know, we talked about Sammy Sosa earlier.
Those two you just showed were from the 83s. That's from 83. That's a Donruss. It's called The Greatness of Something or the
Donruss Champion.
I've got the whole set. I've got the whole set.
Donruss Champions, I think.
Yeah, there were 60 cards in the set.
But like I got tons of stuff like that, and I was like, this is amazing.
What did he charge?
Eventually, I mean, I walked out of there with more than enough. And the guy really honestly was the nicest guy. And I didn't, at that point, after sitting there, you could tell he just wanted someone to talk to. And we talked and we went over and he was like, well, how about this? And I was like, at that point, I didn't even care. He could have said, this is $300. And I probably would have given him the $300 for it. But I got this gigantic stack. I mean, I'm talking probably well over 100 cards. And I ended up giving him $60 for it. And I know most of that stuff isn't worth more than 50 cents. But it was just cool stuff. And I was like, I want this. It didn't like, I don't collect a lot of those guys. I just got them because they were cool. And,
Right.
we talked about the Topps Giant or the 64 Giants. I mean, this is just some of them, but there's the Brooks Robinson. I love this set. And the oversized stuff really does appeal to me. I'm not going to show all of them. I've got an absolute ton of them. But even we get into the Redman sets. And I just buy
I love
these
the
up.
Redman. Love the Redman.
I buy these up whenever I can find them. I do like them with the tab. I'm a little bit of a snob
Right.
when it comes to getting them with the tab. But I mean, these are just amazing. There's a Minoso. It's just, and it's got I don't really care about the condition. These are great, and people, sometimes will say, well, if you don't care about condition, why are you putting them in top? Well, if I get something, I'm going to protect it. I just don't really care about,
right.
I absolutely love that stuff. And that, so we talked about oversized, and
this is one of the sets that I just picked up. It's a 5-card set, but it's of Griffey, but they're oversized.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then there's another one.
That's great.
They're green, and then there's this set. There's another one of Griffey. All these oversized, and you pick them up really cheap. And I like oversized cards. I've got the holders for them, and I just enjoy the heck out of them. And I just think it's, I'm like you. I don't really care about condition. I can buy 1s and 2s all day long and be thrilled. I mean, that's what I love about Mookie, and his show, because he's all about the pinholes. And I'm not into trying. I don't care about wealth. I don't care about what something is worth. I've never looked a card up. I don't care what the value is. I kind of understand what the value is, so I know what I'm buying, but I don't do card ladder or any of that kind of stuff. I don't care about that.
I'm not a keep up with the Joneses kind of guy. I collect for me, and it's whatever. Like, I could wake up one day and say, well, today I'm going to go and look at Alex Ovechkin. And then tomorrow I could wake up and say, you know what? I really want to go and find a Cecil Travis. And then the next day I could say, you know what? Today's the Mickey Mantle. It is just such a range for me, and I don't really plan anything out. I just walk in and say, okay, what's it going to be? What do I find today? And I think that's the most exciting part for me in the hobby is every day is a new day that brings something new where I go, ooh, look at that one. I've never seen that before. I'm going to go ahead and add that one. Like, I could have nailed down the rest of my 73 set on eBay with absolutely not even thinking twice about it. But it's almost like, shiny things. Oh, and I'm not saying shiny cards, but like, oh, squirrel, this one's got my attention. And that's not like me. I'm not a person that has a short attention span. But when it comes to cards, I have a short attention span. So I'm constantly going here, looking here, looking there. So it just, there's so many things. I got this. I don't have any of my childhood collections or cards. I got rid of the majority, but I do still have a couple. This is the first ever autograph that I ever bought. I was probably about 9 or 10 years old, and there was a comic book store near my grandmother's house that I would always walk to. And for a short time, it's actually still there. And for a short time, there was a card shop next door to it. It wasn't there long, but I stopped in that card shop one day, and I kind of was just looking. And for $5, I bought this Luc Robitaille.
Oh, nice!
First ever autograph card, and it's still the original card. That's one of the few original cards from my collections. And this one is from my original collection. That is, it says "To Jason" from Dominic Hasek. And
nice.
That was a friend of ours used to own a driving range, and Dominic Hasek was a guy that showed up there a lot. And he said, "Give me some cards. I'll have him sign them next time." And sure enough, I gave him a couple cards, and Dominic Hasek signed them. And
that's awesome.
I've held on to my entire life. So,
have you ever seen these?
I don't. Are those? No. What are those ones?
Those are the NHL now. They're like the Topps now, but because the Upper Deck has license for all hockey cards.
Yep.
Topps now could do it, but they had to do it in a sticker. So they're smaller, but they're treated like a card. They're not treated like a sticker.
I think I did see one of those, and it confused me because I knew that Topps didn't really have the license for it.
Like, this is the Stamkos getting his 1,000 point.
That's awesome.
So I have a lot of those. I probably have 500 or 600 of those because I do the same thing with the Topps now. But that's the kind of stuff I like to do. So I jump around. You can look all over my room. You can't see it behind me, but over there, kind of over to the corner,
Yep.
that's my Dodger land. That's just all stuff I've had great, mostly Otanis and Yamamoto's and
Yep.
stuff like that. I get this is it's the World Series set. So there's 15 cards of the World Series. I got it for last year and this year. Collect. This is a guy. It's a Buffalo Bills. That's their first great wide receiver.
Albert Benyon. Yep.
Benyon. He was a stud. He's one of the guys I love to collect because I love the AFL.
He's on the Wall of Fame over at the stadium.
Yep. I like collecting the rookies in the USFL sets. It's Craig James.
Okay.
So I do all, I don't collect many, I don't collect autographs or anything like that. I don't even do TTMs or care much about autographs. If I was personally there, like I have pictures hanging on my wall. I met Bob Feller, Gail Sayers, Don Maynard. I've met those guys and I've got 8x10 signed by them, but that's it.
Towards the end of my modern collecting, I turned to some autographs. And so I was able to land quite a few. And that was before I, but that was right at the end of where I kind of stopped collecting modern.
Right.
But, there's some stuff I got to see if I can readily find them and to give an example. But, I did enjoy that part of it, but I don't really, actively do that anymore. Modern baseball for me is kind of like sometimes I do, sometimes I don't collect stuff. But like, just for example, there's a Andy Pettit, and it was great because he was with the Astros, and I loved him when he was with the Astros. I got a lot of Astros signed cards. This one is absolutely love that one.
Yes.
He's probably one of my favorite players ever. But there's I can't find. I have a Ryan and a Ripken, Garcia Parra from the Topps Diamond Icon set, which is a great set. But like this stuff here is just all kind of just more modern stuff. But again, a lot of it is just like the inserts and stuff that I get. But I do have some. This actually was a gift from another YouTuber to me. This is Joe Morgan.
Wow, the Joe Morgan rookie.
Yeah, which was just fantastic. So again, I'm not really ever looking for great. I love this. The Big Ted with the guns out. This was just one of those things I bought in a small auction. I think I got that for $1. Kellogg's Willie McCovey.
Love the Kellogg's.
There is no really rhyme or reason. Here's a Dell stamp of
Boog
Powell, and then this is the golden stamps. There's a Gil Hodges. It's just there's no rhyme or reason. It's not like I collect Gil Hodges, but it was something where I was at the card shop one day and I said, "Oh, that's a really cool card," and I'm just gonna get it. There's my collection knows no bounds. It just kind of is what it is, and I
think that's why Chris from Missouri always says collect what you like and let it be your thing.
Right.
We're not all going to be able to have Mantles and Mazes and Aarons. That's not what I'm going to collect. And everybody's collection is different, and everybody's collection is unique, and everybody's collection is great in reality, no matter how big or how small. Look at that, Nolan Ryan, of course.
And that was before the boom. And so like that card was probably the first card that I ever spent over $100 on. And I did it online, which is out of my comfort zone. But that card now, you can't touch that card for what I paid for it. So when I bought that card, it was $120.
Wow.
Now you won't find that card for that price. Those cards have gone, really skyrocketed. And I know I'm showing a lot of, modern stuff, but there's just,
well, that's what it's about. I mean, I collect modern, and it's I get a kick out like watching Brent Richards get so excited over his shiny cards. That dude loses his mind over his shiny cards.
And he's got some of the best stuff out there.
Oh, he's got great stuff. And then you got Shoebox. He finally dipped into the cheese box a couple of days ago. It's great to see. Everybody's got their thing, and they're all interesting to watch. I love watching guys who talk pre-war, but I don't have any interest to collect it, but I sure do like watching it.
Well, here's the thing. So I'm going to step into pre-war. I'm already kind of into it with the Diamond Stars, but I'm going to go even further back, and that's
Oh,
going to be
good.
something, another Pandora's box that I open. But like that card shop in New Hampshire, I was telling you about. This is some other stuff that they had sitting around. So there's a squirt, just
Yeah, that squirt set's really
oddball.
cool.
And then these I found in there, had no idea what they were, but there are these team stickers, and these came from a 60s Fleer set, possibly a 50s Fleer set. I can't remember, but they were everywhere and they were awesome. And they're paper thin. That Cardinals one is awesome. I really like the way that one looks. The Phillies one is kind of boring, but that's just what it is. There's a White Sox one. So he had a whole slew of these, and I should have just grabbed as many as I could, but I was kind of rushing at that point.
Right.
Those are really cool. I get into a little bit of boxing. There's Joe Choinski, which a lot of people don't know a lot about him, but I collect it all. Dean Gerhardt has a channel where he collects it all, and I feel like I'm almost in that same boat where it's just like if it's there and I feel like getting it and it catches my eye, it's going to be in my collection. So I don't really I don't discriminate against cards.
There you go. Well, buddy, we've been on this for an hour. I don't want to keep you much longer than that, but man, I've enjoyed this. We'll have to do this again. This
was good.
I get a chance to know because I really do think we're, we collect a lot the same, and we kind of have the same idea of how to do it and go about it, and hopefully people will get some enjoyment out of it.
I hope so. It's just it's not for everybody. It's I collect a little bit, but there's got to be something for everybody, right? Like I show a little bit of this. There's people that enjoy modern. There's people that enjoy vintage. I think you're the same way. There's going to be something that somebody likes at some point, right?
Right. Well, buddy, you take care. It's been great
Right.
spending an hour with you, and we'll do it again.
Yeah.
We'll do it another time, and we'll be
Thanks
in
for having
touch.
me on.
So you take care, and thanks for being on.
All right. Thanks, Adam.
All right. Take care, buddy.